All right, I've got a couple big announcements for you guys. Number one, PFF's player prop tool is now available on the web for all PFF Plus subscribers. And number two, PFF Plus is 40% off right now. If you use the promo code BLACKFRIDAY, you get all of the same data, grades, and analytics that all 32 NFL teams use, all 136 FBS teams use. As well, you get access to our 2026 NFL mock draft simulator, that world-class player prop tool that can help you nail all of your bets, and of course, the best fantasy football tools on the planet as well. Again, 40% off PFF Plus right now when you use the promo code BLACKFRIDAY. No team in the Power Four has clinched a trip to their conference title game in a couple weeks. So what we're going to do right now is go over all four Power Four conferences and map out to the best of our ability what needs to happen for every team to make it in to conference title weekend. Let's start off, Dalton, with the SEC. We have a couple teams in Texas A&M and Alabama. For A&M, all they got to do is beat Texas, and they're in. If they lose to Texas this weekend, they could still make it to Atlanta with an Alabama loss and an Ole Miss loss, because that would send Texas A&M and Georgia to the conference title game. For Alabama, the only scenario for Alabama, win. Beat Auburn, you're going to Atlanta. If you lose, you're out. Georgia, because Georgia plays Georgia Tech this weekend, it's not a conference game. The only way the Bulldogs can make it to Atlanta is if Texas A&M loses or if Alabama loses. For Ole Miss, they have to win the Egg Bowl this week, which has a lot of stakes in many ways for the Rebels this weekend. Win that game on Friday. Texas A&M also to lose on Friday, and Alabama to lose on Friday as well. What stands out to you in that SEC scenarios right there?
I mean, I think you have the obvious here of Alabama and Texas A&M being in the driver's seat. And at least in all of these scenarios that we have, there are two teams that are in the driver's seat and just need to win a ball game, right? That's the case here. Alabama, look, the Iron Bowl is always weird, especially at Auburn. And all of a sudden, which quarterback is Auburn playing now? Because the way Deuce Knight, I know it's Mercer, it's a whole different, but Deuce Knight kind of tore it up yesterday. And the one thing I'll say, no matter if it's Deuce Knight or if they go back to Ashton Daniels, because they could do that with him still keeping his red shirt and playing, but I'm sure we're going to talk about it again in the preview. We know how Alabama struggles with these mobile quarterbacks. And Deuce Knight looked awfully mobile to me yesterday against Mercer. What is it, 5 total touchdowns he had in that game? I mean, hey, he looked pretty good in that. So I think the Iron Bowl is always one of those things where you just go, well, just get on the field and play it and see what happens. And Alabama, here's the thing, ran the ball well yesterday. We know that's a hot topic. But this Auburn run defense, too, is a problem. Yeah. And all of a sudden, Alabama gets one-dimensional. You get in the Iron Bowl, things get a little weird, right? They barely won the Iron Bowl last year, right? I mean, I think that's the fun one. And then A&M, look, you talk about, just win the game and get it. They got to go to Austin. Yeah. You see the game Arch Manning had yesterday, too, against, I know it's Arkansas, it's a different animal. But
still a great Texas defense, too, yeah.
I mean, you're Marcel Reed, I'm going to tell you something. You can't have the first half you had against South Carolina because you won't come back on this Texas team. No, there's some tough tasks. And then I think even Georgia, I mean, Ole Miss has the drama, too. Georgia even is still a story in all of this with regard to the playoff because still have to play Georgia Tech. Yep. That game went to, 5 or 6 overtimes last year it was?
I believe so, yeah. Even more than that.
That's
maybe.
Still if Georgia, this is still a big game for them. If they want to buy, talk about you want to buy, you want to win the SEC, all of that stuff. And if Alabama, I mean, it'd be weird if Alabama then won the SEC and Georgia might end up being the team in the top 4 anyway, but they need to win this game if they want a bye week through the first round of the playoff as well.
8 overtimes, by the way.
Oh, it was 8. Sorry, yeah. I lose track with
that
all
was a wild
I lose track with all the
year.
2-point conversion. 8 overtimes, man. What a ball game that was. And then Ole Miss, boy, as big as the game is, and it's huge because you lock in a playoff spot.
Well, that day after the game.
But that Saturday is luminous. What a weird Saturday that is. Let's just because I mean you have the A&M game that's going to happen later Friday. Ole Miss is playing at noon. Texas and A&M I believe are playing at 3:30. Actually, and the Georgia game is later on too, but that doesn't matter to them. And then you have they're waiting on Alabama's result potentially Saturday, and they're waiting on whatever Lane Kiffin's going to say about that whole situation. And then what I don't even want to get into any potential drama with the rankings if Kiffin were to leave or what I just can't with that right now.
I don't even want to talk about that. You can't Jordan Travis Ole Miss like that.
No. To be honest with you, if they're going to do it, which is nonsense, and he were to leave on Saturday, okay, you still have to give this team a home game.
Yeah.
Then fine. You want to do it? Make them number 8.
Yeah.
Do not drop them below number 8. They have earned a home game.
Yep.
Do not. That would make me absolutely sick if he were to leave and they said, "Nah, go on the road." Yeah. I don't even know what I would say about it next Sunday. I'll be honest with you. That's just something that should not happen. This team has earned it, but Egg Bowl is one of those weird ones too.
If they lose the Egg Bowl,
well, to be honest with you, if they lose the Egg Bowl, there's a chance they're out on merit. They're going to be in that 10.
They beat Oklahoma. They'd be 10-2.
They did, but they're going to be in, and that's going to be another problem for Oklahoma.
Yeah.
That I would almost say is actually, at that point, they almost want Ole Miss to just go ahead and win. I don't even, the 10-2 scenario, there's going to be one or two teams.
I just could see the committee being like, oh, they're 10-2, they're reeling with Lane leaving, they're out. I'm like, dude, you can't do that.
Well, but you can't put them you can't put them behind Oklahoma.
So I agree. I agree with that. Or at least I think that. The whole Lane Kiffin factor might play a part. I don't know. But anyways,
I don't know.
We'll get to that next week.
Lane, just come back to FAU. It was peaceful, man. Just come back to Everything was peaceful down there. We were winning 10 games. We never had all this drama at FAU with them. Just come on back someday.
Just to recap, Black Friday is massive for the SEC this week. A&M and Alabama both control their own destiny. But Georgia needs A&M or Alabama to lose. Ole Miss needs A&M and Alabama to lose, plus a win over Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl. All right, let's get to the Big Ten now and what the scenarios for that one. Indiana, win and you're in. Beat Purdue and you're in the Big Ten title game. Or if somehow the Boilermakers pull off maybe the biggest upset of the year, Indiana still makes it in as long as Ohio State beats Michigan. That's it. They need Ohio State to beat Michigan, or they got to win against Purdue. For Ohio State, all you got to do, beat Michigan, and you're going to Indy. If not, though, you do need Indiana to lose and also Oregon to lose to Purdue. Oregon, you need to win against Washington, and you need Ohio State to lose to Michigan. Michigan, you need to win, and you need Oregon to lose or Indiana to lose. And Dalton, there's actually a crazy scenario I was looking at earlier. There is a world where we get Ohio State and Michigan in Indy for the Big Ten title game. That would require complete chaos. That would require Indiana to lose, obviously Michigan to win, and also Oregon to lose as well. But there is a world where we get Ohio State and Michigan in back-to-back weeks in the Big Ten title game.
And Michigan would have to win, right? Yeah,
Michigan has to win. Oregon has to lose, and Indiana has to lose. And that's how we get Ohio State, Michigan. I don't think that's even has a possibility of happening, but there is a scenario where that exists.
You know how much they would hold it over Ohio State fans if they beat them 2 weeks in a row? Do you have any idea how much they would hold it over them? Oh, boy. Okay, the big thing here is I will be honest with you. Not that football games should be taken for granted, but I'm kind of riding the assumption that Indiana. Curt Cignetti did not come all this way to get to the last week of the season and lose to Purdue.
Yeah.
Because Purdue has not won a game since week 2. So I am kind of just all of your crazy Purdue beating Indiana scenarios.
They're 28.5-point favorites right now. By the way.
I'm sure they are, and they beat. What was it? They beat them last year, like 63-7 or something like that. I am not sitting here, and I'm not going to waste a whole lot of brain cells on Indiana losing to Purdue. That's not a thought. Now this Ohio State-Michigan one, because when you talk about all Ohio State's got to do is win and get in, they haven't beaten Michigan since 2020.
Yep.
And it's in the Big House, and I am sure part of the motivation for sitting Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate this week was, hey, we need you in Ann Arbor, right? Because you're not winning that. Look, Michigan's still got a really good defense. You've got Wink Martindale calling the plays. That battle against Julian Sayin, a redshirt freshman, is going to be fun. And I will say this: I think one of the good things that has come out of this recent stretch after their bye week, where Carnell Tate's been banged up and Jeremiah Smith didn't play this week, Ohio State's running the ball a lot better. Mm-hmm. And one thing I was worried about maybe a month ago, looking ahead to this Michigan matchup, was, is Ohio State going to be too one-dimensional? Are they too reliant on Sayin? The emergence of the true freshman back, Bo Jackson, good name to have as a tailback, that's really, I think, something that could make a big difference in this game. But it's Ohio State, Michigan. You never know. It's going to be a war. Oregon, Same idea. Listen, we know going down to Seattle up there, that's kind of the house of horrors there. We've seen Washington ruin a couple of Oregon seasons before. Now, it's not Michael Penix Jr. anymore, but it's certainly not a freebie there either. So we got storylines all across with these teams in the Big Ten. But the one assumption that I feel safe, college football being what it is, that we can make is that Indiana is going to be playing in the Big Ten title game. I know these other teams got great fan bases. But, boy, I got to think a lot of people are going to be up from Bloomington to Indianapolis. That's only about, a 30-minute ride to get up there?
Yeah.
That's going to be a whole lot of Indiana people in that building.
Even if, say, all Indiana needs is either them to win as a 28.5-point favorite or Ohio State to win as a 12.5-point favorite. So you would need two big upsets.
Ohio State's 12.5?
Yeah, 12.5 right now.
No. I'll be honest with you. We'll see who I pick in the game straight up. Boy, I like Michigan at plus 12.5.
Yeah, we'll see. But, again, all they need is one of those two things to happen in order to get in. Oregon, again, just have to win and Ohio State to lose, and Michigan has to win and Oregon loses or Indiana loses as well. So, SEC and Big Ten.
12.5.
Yeah.
Did they not learn from last year? It was, what was it last year? It was 21, I think?
It was a lot. It was over 20, I think.
It was 20.5 or 20. I was just on principle. I'm not taking Ohio State. They haven't beat them in 5 years.
Yeah, in Ann Arbor, too.
Yeah, I'm not taking I wouldn't take Ohio State at 12.5. I mean, this isn't the betting show, but, damn. That's
we'll get to our picks
kind of a lot.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Oregon 7.5-point favorites, if anyone's wondering, as well, over Washington, too. So, SEC and Big Ten, relatively simple, I would say. Big 12 and ACC is complete chaos right now. So we did our best, honestly, to get all the scenarios for you guys. If there's some that we missed or if some that are slightly wrong, please let us know in the comments. But nobody knows right now. I feel like everyone's trying to map it out all in their head. This is what we could come up with for the Big 12, at least. So the two teams that control their own destiny are Texas Tech and BYU. Texas Tech win and you're in, or Arizona State loses to Arizona, you're also in to Dallas. BYU win and also like against UCF and also like Texas Tech. If Arizona State loses, you're good. Arizona State, you need to win and BYU to lose, or win and Texas Tech loses and Utah to lose as well. For Utah, win BYU to win, Arizona State to win, and Texas Tech to lose, or if BYU somehow loses, win Arizona State to win, Texas Tech to lose, Cincinnati to win, and Kansas State to win. Based off some tiebreakers, they would also, I believe, get in. I was playing around with the simulator last night, Dalton. So if you're Utah, you definitely need Arizona State to win, and you definitely need Texas Tech to lose. The easier way for you is for BYU to also win, but if BYU somehow loses, if Cincinnati wins and Kansas State wins, Utah will get in as well.
Yeah, Utah has some weird advantages in like 3 and maybe even 4-way tiebreakers. I think it's something to do with conference. Is it conference strength of schedule?
Yeah,
and
I think
things
it's
like
like that,
opponents'
yeah.
records and things like that. Hence, the Kansas State and Cincinnati still getting mentioned because Utah has now beaten both of those teams, right? So it's they need more wins from those teams to make themselves look better and all of that. Here's the thing: and I think for both of these conferences, the Big 12 and the ACC, for as complicated, especially here in the Big 12 as it looks, the most likely scenario, we think, is the simplest one. Texas Tech is at West Virginia.
They're minus 21, by the way.
Texas Tech is better than West Virginia.
Yeah.
But, we've seen West Virginia. Look, remember what they did to Houston, right?
True.
They can be spunky at home, and they know they're playing spoiler, and it's still Rich Rodriguez over there. They know how this works. And BYU is playing UCF at home. UCF is 5-6. It's not the best 5-6 I've ever seen, and I have to think Kalani Sitake is telling his team, because remember the 2 big losses they had last year to Kansas and Arizona State. I got to think the message now after this huge win they got here in Cincinnati is finish the job. Finish the job. Don't screw around. We get UCF. We get them in our stadium. It's winning in. Everything is in our own hands. Let's get it done, right? I have to think that's the message from Kalani Sitake. So I do think the simple scenario here is the most likely one. Arizona State, the biggest thing looming for them, which is why they're in at least a decent spot, is that win they have over Texas Tech earlier in the year, the only team in the conference that has beat them, the only team all year, actually, that has beat them. Look, Arizona State, it's kind of weird that very quietly, they are in this with the next best shot with Sam Leavitt out. Jeff Sims playing decent football. Got a win over Colorado last night. Got a fight from Colorado for about 2.5, 3 quarters. But Arizona State, they're playing Arizona, of course, and they get the rivalry game. And, well, that's always dangerous, too. You get rivalry weekend coming, and these are the things that can happen. So they have a harder task, really, on paper, than Texas Tech and BYU do. And then Utah, that's just, that's a lot. that's a lot that they need to have.
Well, basically, you need Texas Tech to lose, and then I think Arizona State and BYU just to win as favorites, and you're good.
Yeah, and
that's the most likely one.
Because that puts you. That's a 4-way tie, right?
Yeah.
Who would they play? Do you know who they would play in that? Is it
there's actually a lot of Utah versus BYU scenarios, which would rock.
Jeez.
Which would rule. That would be pretty awesome.
That would be something. But I still think
you need a massive upset by West Virginia.
Most likely at the end of the day. The most likely scenario is we're getting a rematch of Texas Tech and BYU. Those 2 games that they're playing are take-care-of-business type games. Little weird. Again, UCF trying to get in a bowl game, and Texas Tech has to go on the road into West Virginia. So you never know, and the last week is always the last week, and these are the things that can just throw everything upside down because that's college football. But I do like those 2 teams' chances right now as the favorites in the driver's seat to get it done.
Again, Texas Tech, all I got to do, and BYU, all I got to do is win, or if Arizona State loses to Arizona, which is also certainly possible considering that it's going to be a really, really good game, that also puts BYU and Texas Tech into the Big 12 title game. Arizona State needs some help with a win. Utah needs even more help with a win as well.
And say this for Utah, because this is going to be a game that we do preview, oddly enough. Utah going to Kansas, still whether they are in the Big 12 title game or not, still a huge game considering where they are in the rankings. And is there any conversation about, for you, we'll find out your bracket in a second here, and Utah and everything that may or may not be involved with that. Is a close win over K-State, does that drop them down a spot? Is Miami argument in there? Like, what?
Yeah.
There's a lot of still at-large implication with Utah with where they are that they need this road win at Kansas regardless of the Big 12
Exactly.
result.
No, they are certainly alive in the at-large discussion. I personally think, I've said all along they should be behind Miami right now. The committee has not agreed with that. Maybe with this close win over Kansas State, maybe they'll put Miami over Utah. I don't know what they'll do. I personally think it would take probably way too much in order for Utah to get in as an at-large. So I think the most likely or probably only path is to get in by winning the Big 12. But we'll see how the committee ranks them, honestly, this week. It should be actually a really telling ranking, I think, for Utah and how likely their chances are. Because if Miami jumps them this week, I don't know how likely it is that Utah can get in as an at-large. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how the committee ranks them for sure.
Some big games here. Miami's got a big game themselves. They got to go on the road and get a big road win themselves against a hot team too now.
Yeah, speaking of that, let's get to the chaos one. You thought Big 12 was chaotic. We'll get to the ACC. There are 6 teams alive right now in the ACC race, and none of them have clinched a spot in the title game yet. The 6 teams that are alive right now, you got Virginia. Virginia, win, and you're in. This is how small the text look because this is a crazy.
Get a screenshot of it now because you're not going to be. You might not be able to read all of it. By the time
God, I hope I got it right. I did this late night last night. I woke up at like 5 a.m. this morning. We're trying to read a bunch of articles and also do some research myself. I hope I got this right. Good chance I didn't get it completely right though. So Virginia winning, you're in. Or if you lose to Virginia Tech, SMU loses, NC State loses, and Syracuse loses. Okay. Virginia. That Syracuse-Boston College game, which is like one of the most disgusting games all year, actually matters in this ACC race, honestly. SMU also win, and you're making it to your second straight ACC title game in your only 2 years in the conference so far. If SMU loses, you need Pitt to lose, Duke to lose, NC State to lose, and Virginia to lose. So both Virginia and SMU win, and you're in. Pittsburgh now, the big win over Georgia Tech. Win and Virginia to lose, or win and SMU to lose, and you make it to Charlotte. Georgia Tech now, because they don't play a conference game next week, because they play Georgia, they need both Virginia and SMU to lose in order for Georgia Tech to make it in to the ACC title game. Miami has a bunch of scenarios. Win, SMU win, Duke to lose, Virginia to lose. Or win, Virginia wins, Duke loss, SMU loss, NC State win, and Syracuse win. Or win, Duke win, Virginia loss, SMU loss, and NC State win. Or win, SMU loss, Duke loss, Virginia loss, and also Syracuse or NC State win as well. Finally, Duke, win, Pitt to lose, and SMU to lose, or win, Pitt loses, Virginia loses, and also NC State loses as well. Again, ACC is absolutely chaotic. I hope I got it perfectly right. Again, good chance I didn't get it perfectly right, but Dalton, that's the best I could do for what is a completely cluster F of a concert.
So something what I think we just need to real quick on that rundown, just the opponents that we're dealing with here with these games as well. Miami and Pitt are playing each other, which is obviously a huge game, right? Virginia's got the rivalry game. They're hosting Virginia Tech. NC State is hosting North Carolina, and you mentioned that in there. SMU has to go out west and go play Cal, who has been solid this year and especially got a dangerous quarterback. Duke is playing Wake Forest, and Duke, that might be the most amazing one out of all of them, that they're even still alive somehow here with the season. What are they, 6-5 now? They're 6-5, and yet they're alive to win this conference, which still could be a nightmare scenario here. And Miami needs Duke to lose for the sake of, they lose all that's like Duke wins somehow. Duke with the opponent strength of schedule in conference and all that, Duke wins like all of the tiebreakers, which is just crazy to me. But that's why Miami needs Wake Forest to beat Duke, because they will not win a tiebreaker over Duke. That's a big thing.
I think there is one scenario like Duke wins, but if Duke wins, you need Virginia to lose, SMU to lose, and NC State to win. That's the one scenario where Miami will get it.
I mean, that's just, which
is not likely.
I would favor NC State to win, but at the end of it all, what you're looking at, and the timing of these games is fun because, of course, they went Miami-Pitt. So Miami-Pitt's going to be at noon. The Duke-Wake game is going to be at 3:30. The Virginia game, Virginia Tech, and SMU-Cal are going to be night games on Saturday.
Interesting.
Those are the two games that you go, okay, the chaos can just end here, because Virginia and SMU are the winning in teams.
Yes.
Okay, those are the two. And then, Pitt, if they can beat Miami at home, then they're sitting on the edge of their seat with those two games. Miami, they'll just be sitting there all day watching all the chaos happen, right? And then Duke at 3:30, I mean, who knows where it could go. But the two winning in games, of course, for our entertainment, they made them the last games of the day. So it's going to be a lot of fun, but I think that's the mindset that, to me, with just the sheer chaos that the ACC is. Remember the Big 12 last year? We've been saying this the whole time. Yeah. This is from the Big 12 last year to the ACC this year. But the lesson is Virginia and SMU, driver's seat. You've got the wheel. It's all yours. Either one of them, or heaven forbid, both of them lose, then you've got chaos. This doesn't have to be chaotic, but it's up to Rhett Lashley and SMU. It's up to Tony Elliott at Virginia to not make it chaotic, and it's college football, and it's rivalry weekend. SMU having to go out to the West Coast, man, to finish. And listen, huge win, dominant win over Louisville, right?
Yeah.
Go out to Cal, get a win the ACC title. I don't think we've talked enough about it. Man, Rhett Lashley could bring him to the playoffs 2 years in a row.
Just got a big extension, too. Well-deserved extension.
Clearly.
Awesome coach. We actually interviewed him on the show earlier on, too. Awesome guy. And, yeah, there was a lot of talk about him going back to his alma mater in Arkansas, and they put those rumors to bed by just signing him to that extension and making him, I believe, one of the 10 highest-paid coaches, I believe, right now in college football, and very much deserved, because what he's doing with that program right now is absolutely incredible. The fact, I don't know if I've ever seen a season before where you go into the last weekend and not a single power conference team has clinched a spot in conference title weekend.
I'll tell you one better than that. The only team in the whole country, group of 5 included, that has clinched a spot in their conference title game is James Madison.
Wow.
The only, and that's the only conference still with divisions.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the only team out of the 18 that we know will be in a conference title game is James Madison hosting the Sun Belt title game against either Troy or Southern Miss, the winner of that game on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
Actually, no, I think that game's on Friday. It's on Black Friday.
Big game.
Yeah.
Real quick, before we move on to the Heisman rankings, and we're not going to do it. We didn't have a graphic made for the American, but I think it is worth talking about because American Conference most likely still is going to be the one that has the group of 5 representative in the playoff. You were talking to me in the car about it before. It was just way too complicated for me to understand it. Can you just, for the listener, what do you know, like the scenarios in your head of what it could
be? So the American tiebreakers are weird because the head-to-head matters, but we could get in a case where it's a 3-way thing. Now, so the sequencing of the tiebreakers, I'm not sure how it resets or not, but basically here's what you're looking at. Because Tulane is ranked, and they will continue to be ranked, they're playing Charlotte this week. They're probably going to beat Charlotte. That's the worst team in the American. If Tulane wins, they're going to be in.
Yeah.
And they are more than likely going to be hosting because they'll be the highest ranked American team. Now, if North Texas plays Temple, they play Temple at home, and Navy has to go to Memphis on Thanksgiving night, okay? If we do get a 3-way tie, I think, I'm like 99% sure, unless they decide in the CFP to rank Navy and not North Texas or something like that. And it might even reset to the head-to-head anyway. It's just not going to happen. If all three in the American, because East Carolina lost, so you have right now Tulane at 6-1, North Texas 6-1, Navy 6-1. It feels like if it's winning in for Tulane and North Texas, and if Navy is going to get in, they have to beat Memphis at Memphis, and they need one of those two teams to get upset, and it would be a pretty big upset. More likely Temple beating North Texas,
okay,
if that makes sense. So Tulane is in the driver's seat. If they beat Charlotte, which they should, the American title game will be at Yeoman Stadium in New Orleans. If North Texas wins, I would say in all likelihood they're the team that's going to go play them.
Got it.
And
okay.
Navy needs a loss and a pretty solid size upset from one of those two teams. It's also, and I was going to get into this when you got to your playoff bracket here, but if none of these teams lose this weekend, especially Tulane and North Texas, I actually don't see unless all of a sudden, especially with the way they barely beat Washington State, I'm not sure I see much of a road for James Madison to get to the playoff here.
Yeah.
The resumes of these other teams are just better, and they're going to get better if we get a Tulane North Texas title game. They might both be ranked.
I would argue right now, and we'll get to the playoff bracket later, I would argue right now James Madison has the best resume, but the problem is, like, you're right, when they do play each other, whoever wins that game will have a huge boost in resume.
If you want, we can discuss that part once we get to your bracket.
Yeah.
Because I have some thoughts on this as well from the James Madison angle. But I think still, if all three of these teams, or even just if Tulane and North Texas win this week, and that's the title game, I think that's just your play-in game.
Yeah.
I don't think James Madison, I don't think a win over Southern Miss or
No,
Troy
I would agree with that.
Can trump that.
I would agree with that, yeah. But I think right now James Madison is in my playoff. We'll get to that later on. But, yeah, I would agree that whoever wins if all three win this weekend, or all two, I should say, it should be probably the winner of that American game. All right.